So is this the best bit of what you do? Or?
Well, this is the preparation stage. Horse can't be expected to go hunting any day without being reasonably fit to do so. And what we do today is exercise the horse for 45 minutes, an hour and a quarter. It depends where we get in our minds to go and what the weather's like, but they've got to be exercised virtually every day. Once they've had a day's hunting, they might have a day, sometimes 2 days off. Quite often the second day after they've exerted themselves, they're stiffer than the first day. And so sometimes they're better to have a little bit of exercise immediately afterwards, and on the second day have some time to chill out and stretch their legs and relax properly. But they've also got to not only relax in their bodies, they've got to relax in their minds. And you've got to be careful with them when you come home from a day's hunting, that the mind isn't still working while the body has stopped. The old brain can keep whizzing round, and they can get a bit sweated up in the stable and not eat properly because their mind's on other things. You've just got to be a bit careful with them.
Horses have always been involved in fox hunting?
Yeah, yes.
Important part of it?
Oh yes, I mean, in times gone by there was no other form of transport anyway. And it's a whole lot more interesting than trying to drive a four-wheel drive across a field, not that you'd be allowed to.
It's quite a spectacular sight as well.
Yeah, I think when you come on Saturday you'll see that a bit of panoply and pageantry, and things might look a bit tidier than they are just now. I remember a chap asking me a while back what on earth the appeal of sitting on a horse was. I said to him, well, you quite like driving fast cars, don't you? He said, yeah. I said, well, if you had some money you'd buy a Ferrari. Yeah. Well, the Ferrari will go from 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds. And it's got great braking power. This will go from nothing to 30 in 2 seconds, and I've got 2 strips of leather to try and stop it and steer it.
So you're coming right at the edge, really.
And a mind of its own where it goes.
So yeah, does it always respond well to what you tell it to?
No, so if it always did, then it would be no fun.
There would be no excitement.
Could have an adrenaline rush somewhere.
Yes, I'll put my hat on.
Goes hat on, don't worry.
Much more well behaved than dogs.
Good evening. The bill to ban fox hunting is moving closer to being passed by the Scottish Parliament. MSPs are still debating it in the Chamber in a special late-night sitting.
Anti-hunt campaigners say it's a momentous day for Scotland. Pro-hunt lobbyists say the bill is flawed and will face hundreds of legal challenges. Well, protests have been taking place all over the country, with one person being arrested outside the First Minister's residence in Edinburgh.
And so the day of the hunt finally arrived. And as everyone got ready, I asked Willie if he felt moves to ban fox hunting were politically motivated.
Certainly with the legislation in England, some of the Labour MPs have been as blatant with that prospect, Jamie, and said it was payback time for the miners' strike. Now, whether the miners' strike was right or wrong, or whether fox hunting is right or wrong, are two completely separate issues, and the outcome of one should never have any bearing on the other, unless you happen to be a miner who goes hunting, and there are some.
It's the thrill of the chase. Yeah. It's not the killing of the fox.
Yeah.
There's nowhere like exercising a horse in its natural environment than it is out hunting.
Okay.
And the other thing about out hunting is you never quite know where you're going to go.
I think that there could have been better ways of dealing with it, rather than legislation imposed by a legislature who didn't particularly understand the situation. Remember that in Scotland the whole aspect of hunting was looked at by a parliamentary committee, and the committee recommended no change in the legislation. And then the Parliament overturned the committee's decision. So those who had looked at it most closely thought that there was no need for a change in what we were doing. Maybe people had a different political agenda and thought differently. and so we got the legislation. I would have hoped that those who had looked at the situation most closely would have been listened to.
And the other thing is the horse loves it.
Yeah.
They absolutely love it. And the moment you sit on your horse out hunting, he feels different.
Yeah.
And as long as you can sit on him,
Yeah.
don't end up in the muck.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
There shouldn't be a difference in attitude between people who live in the town and people who live in the country, but there are inevitably going to be differences of opinion, and it shouldn't be one group of people imposing their ideals, morals, or just general ideas of how other people should live and then imposing them. It's supposed to be a free country.
And the people are terribly nice too.
Yeah.
It's not an elitist sport.
No.
I mean, some of these little, people, they save up all their summer to go hunting,
Right, okay.
so they can afford to, and it's great. And it's a nice day.
It is. I tell you, they're just fighting to get right out of here. Hungry, and they've been kept in there for a while. So all in all,